All right, let's start with day 5. This is in Anchorage, Alaska. It says partial transcript of proceedings. Not sure why it says that. Monday, May 14th, 2012. It's got 100 pages. Let's begin. Called order of the court at 8:35. Jury not present. All parties present. The clerk, all rise. His Honor, the court, the United States District Court for the District of Alaska is now in session. The Honorable Robert J. Bryan presiding. Please be seated. Good morning, all. Good morning, Your Honor. We have 2 jury issues this morning. Alternate juror number 2 sent a note. I have come down with a sore throat and a cough. I don't feel that it is too bad, but I don't want to spread it to others, so I'll inquire of him. Have you heard anything further about that? No, Judge. And the second one is juror number 3. Juror number 3, I have a doctor's note. Juror number 3 has been admitted to the hospital today and for medical reasons will be unable to go to court for jury duty. So I guess we lost a juror, and I would assume that I should seat alternate number 1 in her seat, which is alternate juror number 1 name, and tell me if there's any objection to that. No, sir. No, sir. No, Your Honor, no. Okay, I hope we don't average 1 a week, but anyway, that's where we are. Anything preliminary? Where's Miss Copper? Yes, Your Honor, I have a couple of issues. The first issue is kind of a housekeeping issue, Your Honor. And when we were working on dates to set this trial, I made the court aware that my investigator in court, tech support here, his son is graduating from high schools with honors, I might add. And that's going to happen tomorrow night, and you're not asking to take the day off or anything. And we're not asking to take the day off or anything, but if we could break a little bit earlier. Mr. Johnson's family lives in the valley. It's about an hour and 15-minute drive for him to get home. Graduation is around 7:30, but there's a dinner beforehand. And we would respectfully ask if we could break at 3:30 tomorrow, and I have been notified of the government of this. I think you're on board. Traversal, no problem. Anything objection to that? We can, if the court wishes, we can cut the lunch hour down if you want. That's what I was thinking. That'd be fine. And we really appreciate that, Your Honor. It's a, kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing here for Mr. Johnson. Well, some things in life trump trials. Not very many things, but some things. Yes, sir, we appreciate it. I do have some objections. Yes, sir, we appreciate it. I do have some objections. If there's any reason I shouldn't tell the jury that they'll be off tomorrow, I would assume they'd like to make plans too. Maybe if they maybe if they have something they want to do, all right. That's fine with us, Your Honor. Okay. I do have some I do have some objections. If I could bring them up now outside the presence of the jury, I think it would help us move the trial along, and I believe that most of these would probably come in through the government's witness who is on the stand now. Maybe one is through a different witness, but probably a witness that we will get to this morning. My first objection would be to the documents marked as Government Exhibit 446, which are basically some pages of handwritten documents found in Mr. Vernon's residence in the area. I'll give the court a minute to pull those up. Yeah, before we get to that, are these going to be offered? Oh, I got to get out the other volume here. Okay, I've turned to 446. Go ahead, Miss Hayden. Yeah, Your Honor, these are handwritten documents found in Vernon's residence. I have an objection to these documents coming in under several different theories. Number 1 would be authentication and foundation. Basically, they're handwritten. We don't know who wrote them. We don't when they're written, and we don't know how they got into Vernon's residence, nor do we know if Mr. Vernon has ever read these. So that kind of blows into my second objection, which will be relevance. These are not relevant unless the government can show that Mr. Vernon ever saw them. My next objection would basically be a hearsay objection, because I believe, and the government can clarify, I believe the government would be using these, particularly one page, to show that they correspond to the information, somewhat correspond to the information on the whiteboard. On what? On the whiteboard, the dry erase board, that had to do with the KJNP incident. And if that's what the government intends, I believe they're offering it for the truth of the matter asserted, and therefore it's hearsay. I can't cross-examine these letters or these documents. I don't know who wrote them or why they wrote them or where the information came from. Ms. Lamrell, thank you, Your Honor. I want to note that Exhibit 446 is currently 22 pages long, and some of the pages we do not plan to inquire of the witness about, but they are photocopied because the original actually shows that the handwriting on the front page and then the back side has been copied as well. So that's why it appears there are some pages that are arguably not relevant. But we don't plan... Or a minute. But we don't plan to inquire of the witness of them, but nevertheless they're included as part of the original package of documents that were found in Mr. Vernon's home, and they were found in his office, and the writing in them is very similar to the writing found within their home and also found within their vehicle, and it relates to events that we know Mr. Vernon was present at. For example, later at trial, you'll see that they would have a photo of Mr. Vernon at the KJNP security detail the night of November 23rd, 2010, and Ms. Hayden indicated that they are notes regarding the security detail plans for the night as we were found in Mr. Barney's home and Mr. Cox's home. So this clearly shows the relationship between the parties and their intent regarding the night, and also in general their intent to seek suppressors. They have printouts of firearms with handwritten notes regarding the accessories associated with those firearms, such as suppressors, and that clearly is relevant for the conspiracy to possess unregistered silencers and destructive devices. The court, I guess by your comments, I think you are imputing knowledge of these things to Mr. Vernon, who, as I understand it, was not only a resident of the home. Is that a fair interpretation, Ms. Lamro? Yes, Your Honor, we briefed this in our trial brief. When documents are found in a defendant's home, they can be admitted as party admissions given the circumstances surrounding those documents and the handwriting on them. For example, there's case law showing that documents found in someone's home, someone's trash, can be admitted as party admissions even though they're not a handwriting expert to say, I know that this was Lonnie Vernon's handwriting. Your Honor, I don't want you to think I didn't read your trial brief, but I read it better than a week ago now, as well as me, Your Honor. The government just simply has no information that this is Lonnie Vernon's handwriting, nor any other person's handwriting. Ms. Hayden, there's no information that he saw these. I believe it's more prejudice than probative, particularly if they want to get these. It looks like pictures of firearms with notes written on them. Again, it appears to be perhaps some handwriting. I don't know. If I'm not a handwriting expert, but no indication that Mr. Vernon wrote those notes or that Mr. Vernon saw those notes. Well, to make a long story short, I think the objections go more to the weight than admissibility. If offered, I'm inclined to admit 446. Certainly your objections to the weight are perhaps well taken, but I think they're admissible. Yes, Your Honor, I believe there is a corresponding photo, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact number of the corresponding photo to the handwritten note regarding the KJNP document. I don't know if the government intends to put that in there or not. We don't intend to offer a photo of the writing, just the actual document itself. Ms. Hayden, Your Honor, my next objection goes to the Sten gun found in Mr. Vernon's home, and the actual firearm is, I believe, Trial Exhibit 293 for the government. In the government's brief, the government drops a footnote and says they don't intend to offer any information that this was an automatic weapon. My objection is that Sten should not come in simply because it is more prejudicial than probative. Mr. Vernon is not charged with having an automatic weapon in this case. This is the subject of a count in indictment number 28, which I think is going to be very confusing in the fact that Mr. Cox is charged with having a very similar weapon. I'm not sure that the jury is going to be able to separate it out, and I just don't know what the probative value of Mr. Vernon allegedly possessing this firearm, particularly if we have this issue of whether it's prohibited weapon or not. You know, obviously we don't concede that it is prohibited weapon, and I don't know that we should put the task of fighting that in this particular case, and when he's not charged with it, but he is charged in this case, number 28. He is charged with what? He is charged with a particular weapon in case number 28. As a machine gun, as a weapon that is a prohibited weapon, an automatic weapon. However, not to go into all the details, but it is my understanding that the lab report, the weapon did not fire automatic. However, it has the components to make it automatic. And then we have this issue of knowledge, and I just don't think that that's something that we need to be going into the trial, that he's not charged with it. And the fact that Mr. Cox is charged with having almost the identical weapon, I think one is a 2 and one is a 2 and one is a 3 is a problem. Ms. Lamro, Your Honor, as the government indicated in this trial before, we did not intend to elicit any expert testimony in this case that the Sten was fully automatic. We don't intend to go into that area at all. We do, however, intend to admit that firearm. It was hanging right in the... You intend to offer it? Offer the firearm. I admit you offer. It was hanging on the master bedroom well together with the other firearms found in Mr. Vernon's home. Mr. Vernon also had 2 firearms. He had 2 firearms in the vehicle, which he drove to the weapons deal on March 10th, 2011. Not only did he have the intent to murder, but he also had the capability to murder. Well, and Your Honor, yeah, would point out that on Thursday, I believe it was Special Agent Copper, was shown a photograph of it. She did identify it as a machine gun, which I think is prejudicial. She did. I can clarify that. I didn't catch that, but I will clarify that with her this morning. The court, yeah, I think clearly if he's not charged with the possession of a machine gun, that gun in this case, there should be no reference to it as fully automatic or a machine gun or anything that would imply that it's illegal. On the other hand, we've got an arsenal in here, a lot of legal weapons and ammunition, and this is just one more in the group. I think it's an appropriate exhibit, but I share your concern that it's referenced as or treated as a fully automatic weapon. In this case, it should not be referenced as a machine gun. I preach right. That, Your Honor, thank you. And along the line was the other that we refer to it as a tripwire that the government has referred to as a booby trap. If they could just instruct their witnesses not to refer to it as a booby trap, thank you. I think that's a fair request. If it, arguably could be set up as a booby trap, but it wasn't a booby trap. It was a bunch of wire stuff put together, less than I would call a booby trap, certainly. And Your Honor, okay. And my last objection, I'm not sure that this is documents that are going to come in through the Special Agent Copper or not, but I think that we will get to them this morning. Let me pause for a second. Okay, let's continue. Ms. Hayden, my last objection, I'm not sure that this is documents that are going to come in through Special Agent Copper or not, but I think that we all get to them this morning is basically what the government has kind of been referring to as goodbye letters. I wouldn't agree with that characterization. And they're found at 318, and there's 13 letters. I'm sorry, number again, 318, Your Honor. Are you getting to those today? There are also photos, I believe, of the letters at 306, 307, I believe, but these are letters that I raised in my initial motion in limine. I attached a copy of the letters. There were 13 of them made out to the family members and friends, stamped envelopes addressed. Several of them had different handwritten notes at the bottom of them. They're signed Lonnie and Karen. It appears that the signature is both Lonnie and Karen, written in the same handwriting. Your Honor, I object to these letters basically because the bulk of these letters deal with the Vernon's struggle and court case with the IRS. The court case is referenced throughout. I think if these have any meaning at all, it has to deal with their battle with the IRS, not anything that Mr. Cox is connected with or Mr. Barney is concerned with. I think it all has to do with the IRS and their struggle with the IRS. I don't think that the court, I don't think that they're relevant. I'm going to bypass that for now. I think that I want to look at them again and hear the identification, and I can deal with it better. I think when it comes up in the course of things here, all right. Yes, Your Honor, if the government can just give us a heads up when they call a witness that it'll be Josh Moore. It'll be our second witness today. Okay, so maybe we could address it. Well, mid-morning break, sure, there will be time for that. I just made a note, reread briefs. Okay, anything else? I believe that's all I have at the moment. I have a couple of items, Your Honor. All right. On Thursday, Special Agent Copper read into the record that stipulation regarding those items found in Mr. Vernon's garage. We went ahead and marked that as Exhibit 465, and the government would offer that so the jury can have it, and then during their deliberations. I didn't intend to go at it again with Special Agent Copper, but I wanted to offer it. My understanding is that there's no objection to this, correct? No objection, no objection, no objection. Okay, be sure you identify it before the jury. Yes, I will. Another item is that we do not plan to offer the Anarchist Cookbook, which is found in Mr. Vernon's home. However, it was on a side table with some other documents, which we intend to offer through Special Agent Copper this morning. And I do not intend to ask her whether they were in any of the other materials, and I do intend to ask her whether they were any other materials found on that same side table in the room, at which point she will likely indicate that the Anarchist Cookbook was there and her understanding of what the Anarchist Cookbook is. My understanding is that the counsel for defendant Vernon objects to our asking that inquiry of that. Ms. Hayden, yes, Your Honor, I didn't realize that the government was going to do that. I had previously objected to the Anarchist Cookbook in the motion in limine. I filed, I believe it was Wednesday morning under Waters' case. As far as reading the material and political material found in a defendant's home, first of all, I believe that the court has to read it from cover to cover to make a determination as to whether it's admissible or not. I believe that, and I apologize, I don't have my motion in limine in front of me or that because I didn't know how we were going to discuss this morning, but I would say it's not relevant. It's reading material under Waters. It should not come in even a reference to it, particularly a reference to it if it's the jury's not even going to see it. Ms. Lamoureux, we intend to inquire of it because the jury will hear a recording of Mr. Vernon talking about how he has read from recipes that you can add phosphorus to grenades. The fact that he has this item goes to his mindset, it goes to his intent, and clearly links to the statements he's made himself. We don't intend to offer the actual book itself. We can if that's counsel's preference, but we thought... Ms. Hayden, and I think the title in and of itself is inflammatory. The court, yeah, I agree. In addition, I agree with you, Ms. Hayden. You better stop while you're ahead. Yes, sir. I think there's more heat than light than they're even mentioning the title of the book. She can testify that it was there with the other things if it comes up later. If it comes up later and is there more identification of it, it may be that it would be admissible, but I think it's if she starts talking about what's in it, then it's, as Miss Hayden suggested, it's a whole different ballgame. And I think you should avoid discussion of that book. Miss Lammer, okay, and Your Honor, there is a witness later on today who will testify regarding the CDs found in Mr. Cox's home. One of those CDs also contained the Anarchist Cookbook. We don't intend to offer the Anarchist Cookbook in that event, but there is a directory file listing of the documents contained on the CD, and that will be elicited from the witness at that point. That's a different issue. We'll take it when it comes. We can't pre-try everything. What else you got here? I got a jury waiting, Miss Lammer, on Thursday, Your Honor, I inquired of Investigator Yvonne Howell with the Alaska State Troopers regarding Exhibit 194. There were a large number of documents included in the exhibit. We took a break and I went through the counsel and culled out a number of pages. We went back on record and I listed the pages and I intended to offer. I misspoke and failed to mention page 101 of Exhibit 194, and it was shown to the jury. I did inquire of the witness about it. My understanding is that defense counsel don't have any objection to that page, but I wanted to clarify for the record regarding that page. Okay, any objection to what is already heard in that regard? No objection. Anybody else? Bring the jury in and we'll shuffle them around. And where's the witness? The judge. So was that page admitted at this point, or are you going to do that in front of the jury? What's that? Is that page admitted at this point, or are you going to do that in front of the jury? I think it's already part of admitted exhibit, is it not? Exhibit 194, page 101. Thank you. Part of 194. I think I should invite alternative juror number 4 to come and wait a minute. Invite to move up to the jury box and get alternate number 1. What? Alternate number 1. Yes. You want him to fill out the seat number 3? Yeah. Okay, but what I'm talking about is the other alternates. I'll move them up too. So they're a little closer to action. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to keep you waiting this morning. We've been working on some evidentiary issues, and hopefully we'll help make things go more quickly today. And first, you indicated you're not feeling real sharp. How are you doing? I'm feeling a lot better now, as long as the coughing doesn't start, But the throat issue is a big thing. Yeah, well, I'm chloroseptic the heck out of it this morning. It's important, of course, that you hear everything and can pay attention. If you have a problem or an issue, let us know and we'll see to it, okay? Yeah, I just don't want to be coughing in that way. I'm sorry. I just don't want to be coughing this way toward any of the jurors. Yeah, don't infect the rest of my jury here. I guess you're aware that juror number 3 name is not here. I have a note that she was admitted to the hospital over the weekend and she is no longer with us, and that means I'm going to reseat you. Alternate juror number 1, you were alternate number 1, so we'll ask you to move to seat number 3. And because you're alternate number 1, and then alternate juror number 2, if you want to move over one, and then if you'd come around and take alternate juror number 2's seat, alternate juror number 4, you move up here. We'll get you out of the left field there and a little closer, and that will be the makeup of the jury from here on. Okay. All right, Miss Copper, Agent Copper, if you'll resume the witness stand. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to tell you while she's coming up, we're going to stop early tomorrow afternoon. We may take a short lunch tomorrow to make up for it, but we anticipate recessing 3:30 tomorrow, so you'll have a long evening. If you want to make a plan or something, we'll be out a little early. Scott Johnson. If you'll step to the witness box, please remain standing and face the jury and the court and raise your right hand. Patrick Scott Johnson, plaintiff's witness, sworn. I do. Thank you. Be seated. Let me ask you to speak right into the mic. Scrocky. Mr. Johnson, your name and spell your last name for the record, please. It's Patrick Johnson, Johnsson. And sir, who are you employed with? The Alaska State Troopers. And your current position with the Troopers? I'm a sergeant with the statewide drug enforcement unit in Fairbanks. And how long have you been with that unit there in Fairbanks? Going on 5 years now. 5 years, and before that, what did you do? I'm a patrol sergeant, and then I made a homicide detective. Prior to that, I started my career in Fairbanks. I've been with the Troopers now going on 19 years. 19 years? Yes, sir. Okay. Did you have an occasion to take some aerial photos in connection with an investigation against Mr. Cox, Mr. Barney, and Mr. Vernon? I did, yes. Okay, Scrocky. If we could have the lights, Madam Clerk, and if Sean, you can pull up the counsel, 431 and 160. What numbers did you ask? 431, and my good folks here are telling me that it's been admitted already. And 160? All right. It looks like we're good to go. They've been admitted. If you could publish those, please. Mr. Johnson, did you take that photo, sir? I did, yes. This is an aerial view of the whose residence, of Lonnie and Karen Vernon. Okay, and what would be right here? Is that correct? Yes, sir. And then 160, you were in the plane working that camera when that photo was taken. Whoops. Yes, I was. And that's a photo of whose residence? Coleman Barney's residence in North Pole. All right. With respect to the photo 160, did you have occasion to see an item that's depicted there in the upper end of the photograph? Yes, I have. Later on, where did you see the item? Over at Fairbanks Ice Park off of Phillips Field and Pigger Road. Okay, and is the trailer in your view there? And what you recall consistent with the trailer you saw at the ice park later on? Yes, it is. How so? It's approximately the same size from the photograph that you've circled there. You can see the tandem axles, the two tires on one side. It's a longer trailer. It's a white all-enclosed trailer, which is very similar to the one that I saw at the ice park later on. All right, and when was the photo taken? Do you recall what date? I believe it was February 23rd, around the time frame. Okay, February 23rd, yes, of 2011. All right. Did you have an occasion to conduct search on behalf of the troopers with respect to someone's vehicle in the case? I did, yes. Whose vehicle would that be? Coleman Barney's vehicle. Okay. Scrocky, if we could show counsel, please. Exit 2B15. Is that the vehicle you searched, Mr. Johnson? It is. That's inside the garage there at AST, the headquarters on Pegger Road. And it's Scott Johnson's, correct? Yes, all right. And so, Sergeant, you had a search warrant to search the vehicle? Yes, sir. Okay. Scrocky, we offer 215. No objection, times 3. It may be admitted. This is a vehicle that you searched? It is, yes. Do you have an understanding of where the vehicle was when you taken into custody? Yes, I was located at Fred Meyer. We call it Fred Meyer West, the one off Airport and University Avenue in Fairbanks. Okay, Freddy's West. Yes. Okay, and with respect to this vehicle, were there items taken from it? We seized a handful of items, approximately 5 or 6 items from it during the search warrant. All right. Scrocky, if we could have the camera down, please. Counsel, I'm going to go through a number of photos marked as 216, 217, 218, 219, 220. And Sergeant Johnson, with respect to 216, that appears to be the interior of the truck. It is, yes. What side of the vehicle were you looking at here on the dashboard? That is the passenger side dashboard area. And is that how those items were found in place on the passenger side? It was, yes. Okay, Scrocky, 217, please. I'm sorry, 217. Yes, it was. And that's been turned to a photograph, the underside. That is correct. Scrocky, 28, please. And Sergeant Johnson, this is a different phone. That is correct, yes. Seized by your own or your team. Yes, it was found by me. Found by you. Yes, and what side of the vehicle? Driver's side up on the dashboard of the driver's side? Okay, Scrocky, 219. Is this reflective of the notebook that was on the dashboard we saw early? Yes, on the passenger side. Yes, Scrocky, and 220. That's a page from the notebook. Plaintiff's Exhibit 220 identified. That is correct, yes. Okay, Scrocky, Your Honor. We offer 215 through 220 and no objection, no objection, no objection. The court exhibits may be admitted. 216 through 220, 215 already admitted. Scrocky, 216, please. Scrocky. Mr. Johnson, that's the dashboard of the truck. Yes, the passenger side dashboard. Okay, and do you have the physical exhibit? I'm going to circle this one here on the center of the photograph. Do you have the physical exhibit there in front of you? I do, yes. Can you give us what number it is, sir? It is Government's Exhibit 222. 222, and next to that was found a notebook. Do you have that notebook in front of you? I do. And that notebook is what exhibit, sir? 223. Thank you. Okay, we'll inquire about the notebook in just a moment. Scrocky, if we can go to 217. With respect to the phone you gave in front of you, does that number correspond to 217? That would be 222. Yes, it's the same number on the back of the exhibit. Scrocky, offer 217. It's already in evidence. Okay, and you can read what's on the yellow piece of paper. I can directly off the back of the phone on this yellow piece of paper, 347-7420. And below it in yellow ink, writing is word yellow. The word yellow is yellow in yellow ink. Yes, Scrocky, 218, please. This phone you said found, sir, depicted on 218. That's correct. And do you have the phone in front of you? I do. And the exhibit number on what phone is 221. Oh, okay. We offer 221. It's great. It's in. Great. All right. It's already in. And can you read what's on the back of the phone as well, Sergeant Johnson? On the back of the phone, this is 854-1464, and the same thing that's on the word yellow written below the number in yellow ink. Okay, thank you. If I could have you go to the notebook, oh, please. Okay. And the exhibit number for the notebook is 223. Do you recall there was a page that was displayed in the photograph of the seizure? Yeah. Or that you looked at earlier? Yeah. Are those numbers depicted on the notebook at the same time they were on the screen? Yeah, they were. We offer 223, no objection, times 3, plaintiff exhibit 223. Could you put up 219, please? Scrocky. Sergeant, does that correspond to the page you have in your hand with the phone numbers and the like? Yes, sir, it does. There's a number at the top of the notebooks that's not really given a number or a color. Do you see that? I do. What number and names go along with what with that listing. The number at the very top says Joe, and it says 347-3674. Okay, and if you could read, you don't need to read the number, but if you could read the line and those lines were there, please. Sure, you just want the names without the numbers. The names and the colors without the numbers would be fine. Sure, the first name is Les and it's highlighted yellow. The next name is Jim's, highlighted yellow. The third is Schaefer's, highlighted yellow. The fourth one is Coleman's, highlighted yellow. The fifth one is JR's, highlighted yellow. And there's one that says MP phone and it's highlighted yellow, and there's MP Steve's call and it's highlighted green. Okay, with respect to the phones you have in front of you that you indicated have been marked yellow, do you see the numbers on the back of those phones and correspond to the listing for your yellow and that we have here on Exhibit 219? Yes, I do. Could you go with the first one? What do you find with the specific exhibit number of the phone first? Government's Exhibit 321. This is a cell phone that was found inside the truck, driver's side of the truck. The back of it says it's yellow, and the last phone number is 854-1464. What does that correspond to? That corresponds to Coleman's on the document that's up there on the screen there with yellow, and then the same number of 854-1464 with respect to the other yellow phone you seized from the vehicle. Is there a corresponding number on the notebook as well? There is. There's Government's Exhibit 222 is found in the passenger side of the truck, and on the back of the phone it says yellow, and it's 347-7420. And did you find the corresponding listing on Exhibit 219? I did. It's the third highlighted one down. It says Schaefer's yellow 347-7420. I believe we've handed you Exhibit 97. The clerk, I missed that. Somebody was rubbing on their microphone. Mr. Scrocky, can you tell me that number? I will, thank you. Agent Sutherland's presented you Exhibit 97 and 75. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Can you go to the exhibit, please? And Sergeant, on the front of the envelope, Exhibit 75, there's a seizure tag, correct? That is correct. That was seized from where or from who? It was seized from the date of the incident, 3/10/2011, from Schaefer Cox at the time of the arrest. All right, that's the cell phone. It's a cell phone. Could you flip over on the back and see if you could see something written there? I do. There's the word red, underlined with red. Is there a number off the red phone? There is. It's an area code 907-268-92501. Do you see the corresponding listing on Exhibit 219 for that? Do you mean Exhibit 223, 219 on the notebook? On the notebook that's up there, yes. On the bottom it says it's Schaefer. It's written in red, underlined, and it's 907-268-9251, the same phone number. That would be the listing here. That's correct, Scrocky. Just leave that up. Why don't you take a second, and we have a lot of phones on the table. Why don't you go ahead and put that one back in the envelope, and the other phones you have, I'll only have one more to inquire with you. The phone here, I'm going to put it back away. You go ahead, okay? All said, yes, all right. If you could look, please, at Exhibit 97 on the seizure tag at the front. Could you tell us the circumstances of where that came from? The same thing, seized on 3/10/2011 from Coleman Barney at arrest. Okay, is there number one on the back of the phone too? There is. What does it say on the back of the phone? On the back, it again says red. It's underlined with a red highlighter, and the phone number is 907-268-9274. Okay, the photo we have here is the jury has a date stamp running across the front of it. The notebook that you have is Exhibit 219. Can you see a listing for a red phone that corresponds to that phone number? You can look at the notebook if you want. Yeah, on the notebook. Yeah, it's right here on here at the bottom. It's at the very bottom. It says Coleman's red and same phone number, 268-9274. Okay, you can barely make it 9274 the underneath of the date stamp. Okay, on the photograph, but here on the book it's very clear, 92. All right, 9274. All right, you can put those away for me. Okay, and I have one more inquiry with respect to the notebook, Scrocky 220, I believe. Do you see the page there, sir? I do. I see it both up on the screen and right here in the notebook. That's part of the notebook as well. It is. There's a number of listings here, and we have some letters here on the left-hand side. Do you see that? I do. Do you have any understanding of what that might mean? No, there's like H's and T's, and we have some next to some of them, some squares. There's some. That is one column to the left. Yes, sir. Okay, if you could read what's on the list, please. Sure. To the right of those letters and squares, the first one says posters and flash drive, then build stuff in hand and pay attorney and look at land. And to the right of that, it says take food. It looks like there's a yes or no box. It says call Bill Marine, call Les, call NDRL, and Susan, call Abby. It looks like Nino. Take some stuff out, and it looks like a flywheel. It looks like plans. It's hard to make that last one out. Could be flywheel plans. Then that's what it looks like, but wheel is misspelled. Okay, if you could look at the one here, it says look at indiscernible. Do you see that? Could you also be look at load? How far up? I'm sorry, right there. Look at land, look at load. Could be look at load. Yeah, either load. Either way, it could be. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. If you could pull up the Council 224, actually, do you have 224 in front of you? I do, yes, sir. Do you have the item in front of you, sir? I do, yes. What have you placed on the screen corresponds to the item? It does, yeah. Those who seized from the truck, those were seized from the truck. They were. And is that a symbol that I'm circling there from Council, something familiar to you? It is, yes. Connection with this investigation, yes. Scrocky, we offer 274, no objection, times 3, 224, admitted. Scrocky, those came out of the truck, sir. Yes, they did. With respect to the front of this card where it says defend all, aggress none, can you describe for the jury what that is? It is a card, a sticker. What is it? They appear to be the kind of like business card with writing on the back of them and then this on the front of them. And if you could, I could turn your attention to the screen. Is this the writing that's on the back? It is, yes. Okay, Scrocky, if you could, Sean, if you could blow that up and if you could read that for us. Sure, that's the different writing on there. But that one, when it says on unit leader responsibilities, one that's actually the very top one, we'll go with that one first. Okay, it says make weekly contact with your 5-man team. Get your men together for a once-a-month training event. Give your report to your unit leader before the end of each month. And then at the bottom it says team leader responsibilities. Okay, thank you, Scrocky, thank you. Can we have the lights, Madam Clerk? Just a couple more questions. Sergeant Johnson, with respect to the white trailer, was the trailer ultimately placed for search? It was ultimately placed at the Fairbanks International Airport Police Department inside the bays next to where we park our trooper squad vehicle. And who among the various law enforcement agencies maintain custody of that in a legal sense? Pretty much just one agency, and that's the Airport Police and Fire Department. Okay, did you have across to the trailer our custody of who could get in or get out? Or control. Had to go talk with the officer in charge that night and get access to the trailer parked in there. Then we cordoned off that area and it was locked up for the evening. The only people that could have access would have been the police officers that were on shift to that bay area. Yeah, when I'm trying to ask you though, maybe it was inartfully phrased. It's from the time it was searched until almost the present. Who's got legal custody of it in terms of the investigation? Oh, between now and then we do, the state troopers do. Okay, and so with respect to that, do you have an idea of who would come and go or ask to come and go in respect to the trailer? Yes, I would. Okay. Did it come to your attention at some point after March 10th, 2011, the specific individuals requested access to the contents of the trailer? Yes, they did. Who would have that been? The first person was Miss Cox. Okay, the defendant's spouse. Yes. Anybody else after that? At Coleman Barney's wife. Okay, did either of the two individuals have items removed from the trailer to your knowledge? Yes, they did. That's all the questions I have for Sergeant Johnson. Traverso, no questions, Your Honor. Dooley, Mr. Robinson, could you put up 220, please, the photo? Mr. Dooley, Sergeant, on Exhibit 220, if you go down to where it says, look, it's load, to the right of that, does it say take food? It appears to, yes. And there's a Y with a box in it, N with a box, correct? Yes. Dooley, thank you, Mr. Robinson. And what did Miss Cox and Miss Barney remove from the trailer? I'm not sure what Miss Barney removed. I only made set up arrangements. The logistics for that happened. It was Investigator Moore that was actually there at the time supervising that. At the time, does that answer your question, or do you want me to? Well, it's household effects, food, that sort of thing. I knew that was in there, but I don't know specifically what items she took. I was not there during that process. The items that were in there after the other things were seized and put into evidence were food, household goods, and the like, yes. And they were removed from the law enforcement removed with law enforcement permission. Yes, they were. All right. Dooley, thank you, Miss Hayden. Madam Clerk, could I have the lights, please, Miss Hayden? Question, Sergeant Johnson, I'm going to ask you to look at Government's Exhibit 219. This is a list of phone numbers with the colors listed on it and the side of it. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Lonnie Vernon's name is nowhere on that document, is it? No, ma'am. Thank you. That's all I have. No redirect. Thank you, Sergeant Johnson. You may be excused. Thank you, Your Honor. We call Henry Ching. Your Honor, I can't anticipate what this witness is going to testify to, and I have an objection. The court, well, does it have to be done in limine, or can you make your objection when it comes up? Well, it's an objection to, I believe, the witness's entire testimony. I believe that this witness is going to testify about items seized from Ken Thessing's house on Ken Thessing's bus that he lived in. Ken Thessing is not on the government's witness list, and as far as I know, he's not an unindicted. Well, wait, co-conspirator. Well, wait a minute. Do we have to do this before the witness? Scrocky, we probably should. If you could just, can you call somebody else out of order, or do we have to do it now? Okay, we can sub in. We can call Henry Ching. If you'll step into the jury box and face the jury and courtroom, raise your right hand, and to be Henry Ching's plaintiff's witness, the witness, yes, sir. Thank you. Please be seated. Scrocky, sir, if you could give your name for the record and spell your last name. Henry Ching, Ching. Sir, your employment, who do you work for? Alaska State Troopers. And for how long? Approximately 9 years. Okay, is it Investigator Ching? Yes, sir. Okay, Investigator Ching, with respect to, if I could turn your attention to March 10th of 2011, do you have occasion to conduct a search on that date? I did. Where did you conduct your search? At a location called Ken Thessing Compound Residence. I'm sorry, the name of the individual was who? Ken Thessing. Ken Thessing, okay, and you can describe what Mr. Thessing looks like. Did you meet him that day? I did. What did he look like? I contacted him. I didn't meet him. You contacted him. What did he look like? He was a white male, approximately 6'1", probably 180 pounds, bald. Okay, Mr. Scrocky, if we could have the lights, please, and Exhibit 540 brought up for counsel. And Investigator Shing, do you recognize the area depicted in the photo marked 540? I do, Scrocky. And if we could have 543, please, it's a closer up version of that photo we saw in 540. Yes, sir, it is. And is it the location that you searched today? Yes, sir, it is. Scrocky, we offer 540, 543, no objection times 3, 540 and 543 admitted. Up on the screen, this is an aerial photograph, Investigator Ching, concerning the area that you searched. Yes, sir. Could you direct us to where you search was located, please? It would be approximately the 11 o'clock position in the screen, right about there. Yes, sir. And can you do we have a close-up in 541, 543, excuse me, 543? Is that a close-up of the area that you searched that day? Yes, sir, it is. Could you tell the jury, please, what you did in the connection with these 4 buses here depicted in Exhibit 543? We executed a state search warrant on these vehicles at its compound. Okay, and when did you search? When you did the search, did you have occasion to go through all the 4 buses? I went through 2 of the 4 buses. Which ones did you go through? Bus number 1, which would be the blue bus, and bus number 4, which is diagonally a park bus, yellow bus. This one here that I'm circling to the left, yes, sir. Of the photograph from your search of the bus number 1, the blue bus that you mentioned, were you able to ascertain if anybody was residing in that bus? It appeared that somebody was living in the bus. How could you determine that? I observed smokestack coming out of the driver's side of the bus, which could indicate that there was some sort of heating source or cooking source inside the unit. Okay, if you could publish for counsel 544, 45, 47, 48, 49. And Investigator Ching, were you able to follow along with these photos? Yes, sir. Do you have personal knowledge of what's depicted in those photos from your search of the buses that day? Yes, sir. Are you able to identify and verify which item came from which bus? Yes, sir. We offer 544 through 549. No objection, no objection, no objection. All of them were admitted. With respect to the blue bus, Investigator Ching, did you find any firearms inside? I did. Is that depicted there in 544? Yes, it is. It's one of the firearms. What kind of firearm is that? It appears to be an SKS. And where was it located in connection with the entrance to the bus? We are standing, well, we would be standing looking at the picture. We'd be standing in the entryway, and that's hanging above the driver's seat. All right, continuing on with page 151. I'm sorry, 51. Scrocky and 545, please. And Sean, if you can enlarge the magazine. Sir, do you see those magazines that's depicted in Exhibit 545? Yes, sir. Can you tell the jury a little bit about what that means with the way they're wrapped? Okay, with the 2 30-round magazines, they're loaded with a 7.62 .39 ammunition, full metal jacket. The 2 magazines are taped together like that, so when one of the magazines runs empty, you flip it, and you flip it over, you get a fresh magazine. And so essentially you got 2 magazines there. Yes, Scrocky 547. Can you tell the jury what this is? It's an Investigator Ching. It's a ballistic vest. Where was that found? Bus number 4. There was a visible bottom, Exhibit 547, some other items in a box. Do you see that? Yes. Have you seen in those preparation testimony here today? I did. There came out of the bus number 4 you mentioned. Yes, sir. 540. And how about the item here? What is that, sir? You know, hold on just a second. Okay. How about this item here? What is it? What is that, sir? That is a SAPI plate. It's a ballistic plate, and it was designed to take high caliber rounds like rifle rounds. Can you spell SAPI plate for the record? Because Denali will make me do it later. SAPI. SAPI, yes, sir. Is that an acronym? I don't believe so. Okay. I'll just draw your attention to the blue plastic box towards the left-hand side, and there was an item located in bus 4. What does that appear to be at the bottom right-hand side of the blue plastic tub? It appears to be a Kevlar helmet. All right, thank you. Sean, if we could put in the counsel, please. Investigator Ching, you were following along with these photos? Yes, sir, I was. Were those photos all taken during the course of your search of that bus on that date? Yes, sir, they were. Offer 550, 552, 553, 554, 552. I'm not familiar with your objection, counsel, on the earlier relevance of Ken Thessing things. Oh, I see. You have a standing objection. Yes, I see. Anything else? We have a standing objection as well, Your Honor. We join all right in that. We agree with that. I agree with that. Actually, I had a standing objection as to all 3 of them. The court, all right. Excuse me. All these numbers may be admitted. Investigator Ching, as to 550, could you tell us what bus this came from and what part of the bus you were looking? what we're seeing here in this photograph. This would be that bus number 1 in this area that we're looking at his desk. This is on the passenger side of the bus. All right, this drawer has been pulled out and there's some items in the drawer. Do you see that? Yes, I do. With respect to this, and I'm circling here to be right hand of the drawer, what does that appear to be? A firearm. There's also an item underneath the white card and a utility plug-in. Do you see that, the item here? Yes, sir. What is that, sir? An iPhone? Was that seized as well? Yes, it was. These cards here, they're kind of overexposed, but do you see those cards? They're on the left-hand side of the circle. Yes, sir. Do you recall that those cards were about, I believe they were Liberty Bell cards. Liberty Bell cards? Yes, sir. Scrocky 552. Sean, if you could blow up that area there. Can you read what it says there under Tuesday the 1st? Investigator Ching, not really. Common law jury, common law jury. I can't really read the top one. Why don't you look up? Can you see it on the screen? Is that better? Manual common law jury, that is what it looks like to me. And the above is Tuesday. Can you see what it says there above, the reference to Tuesday? Yeah, jury, testing call, Thursday. Wait, I don't know what the second word is. Scrocky, back us out one step. That's pretty tough to read, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Could it be treaty, objection, leading, sustained? Okay, can you back us out again? And if you could, circle, enlarge that area there. Do you see the word that here's irrelevant to your investigation? Yes. Can you read what it says from the top, bottom, beginning up to the word here? It says word for word. I can't read the other part, but it says to Schaefer. Thank you, 553. Do you recall seeing that the other day? Read, sir, I do. How did you come into possession of that item? It was a firearm that was on Ken testing. What kind of firearm is it? I believe it was a Kimber 445 caliber. He was carrying that when you made contact with him. He was. 554, please. Turning your attention to Exhibit 554 to the left-hand side. I'll circle this item on the left-hand side. Do you see what that is, sir? Yes, sir. And what is it? It's a laptop that was on the desk. And was that seized by you during the course of your search? Yes, it was. While Agent Sutherland's collecting some exhibits, if you go to 556, Defense Counsel, do you see what's been marked in Exhibit 556? Yes, sir, I do. Do you recall where that was seized and from which bus? Yes, sir, I do. Where's that? Bus number 1, and it was located behind the laptop computer that you saw in the previous picture. On the screen of the previous exhibit and at the top it has a name and organization that's pertinent to your investigation. Yes, sir, it does. Alaska Peacemakers, we offer 556 objection already. I also joined in that objection, but I found foundational question to the particular witness of this document or this photo. Ask him, we'll join to your objection, Your Honor. Do you want to inquire of him? Yes, please. Sir, the photo that you're looking at in 556 has a pink sticky over the side, a pink post-it note. Yes. Was that placed on by law enforcement, or was that there when you seized the document? That was placed there by us. That's all I have. Okay, 556 may be admitted. And sir, for the record, there appears to be a scan, not a photo from the search scene itself. That's the document itself. Correct? Yes. All right. At the top it states Alaska. What does it say there? Alaska Peacemakers on call status. And if you could read number 1 through 10, please. Colonel Schaefer Cox. Number 2 is Lieutenant Colonel Zeb Les Serby. 3 is Major Coleman Barney. Major Ken Thesson, Bill Barney. Lieutenant Bill Rensel is Sergeant Gary Brockman, Joel Nichols, Mike McManus, J.R. Olson. If you could scroll down some more, stop. If you go down to 20, please. Okay, 20 is Bo Stevenson. No, beginning at 11. Oh, excuse me, is Sergeant Lonnie Vernon. 12 is Mike Anderson, Ben Fenwick, Sergeant Scott Walker, Rick Stigma, Jeremy Mark, Val Marchbanks, Bo Stevenson, and is Craig Anderson. Scroll down a bit more, and number 22. 22 is Rob Carr. What does it say after that? Walkie-talkies in. 23 is Bill Lothrop. 24 is Sergeant Dave Lazenby, inactive. 25 is Tim Van Pelt, decommissioned. Okay, thank you. Scrocky, Madam Clerk, if you could have the lights, please. Sir, you could have in front of you Exhibit 555. Yes, sir. If you could just stand up briefly, look inside the box, see if you have identified something that you realized seized from the search that day. Let us know if you did. Yes, I do. And it's an item depicted in one of the photographs you showed you. Yes, sir. We offer Exhibit 555. Objection already noted. Same objection, Your Honor. I'll join. 555 may be admitted. Scrocky, could you just pull that out of the box and show that to the jury, please, and describe the item for us? It's the laptop that I seized on that was Ken Thessing's desk. I'm sorry, I'm barely hearing him. It's the laptop that I seized on Ken Thessing's desk. All right, thank you. But put that back in the box. Do you have 557? Yes, sir, I do. Was that another item that you seized pursuant to your search warrant that date, sir? Yes, sir, it is. Offer 557. Same old objection. Same objection. Same. 557 may be admitted. Investigator Ching, what is that item? It's an iPhone. Could you hold it up to the jury? And the color of the iPhone, black. Thank you. 558. Do you have an item in front of you? It's behind me. Yes, sir. Could you just pop open the box and take a look inside and let us know if there are items that you seized from the warrant on that date as well? Yes, sir. And some of the items you seized from which bus with respect to the exhibit? That would be on the bus number 4. If we admitted, I'm sorry, Judge, if we have admitted 558, we so offer to admit it. Same objection, Your Honor. Same objection. Same objection. Ching direct. 558 may be admitted. Scrocky, could you just go through that, Investigator Ching, and as there are a number of items in there, pull them out hold them up to the jury, speaking to the mic, and let them know what you're talking about, and then just empty that box for the most part. Okay, this is the sapphire plate that I was shown in the exhibit photo. All right, inside the pockets, lighters, matches, that's fine. Move on to the next one, a military issued backpack. How many backpacks are in there? There appears to be just 2 in this 2 box. Any additional body armor in that box? Yes, sir, a Kevlar vest. All right, how about anything concerning a rifle? These magazines that appear to be there, same magazine that were, you'll have to, I know, Madam Clerk, going to have a hard time hearing you. You'll have to pick up your voice a little bit. The magazines that appear to be the same type of magazines that were located on the rifle in the bus, visible in the bus number 1 photo. The one in front of the bus, yes sir, okay, and there's a helmet in that box, a green Kevlar helmet, all right. Scrocky 559, please. Can I put this stuff back in? Or sure, okay, you can have a seat, all right. And if you could just reach inside the box and examine the containers, let us know if you recall seeing that from inside one of the buses on the day you search. Yes sir. A firearm, sir, yes sir it is. Offer 559, same objection, 559 admitted. Let's try this a different way. Instead of tell us kind of rifle it is while you're sitting down, then you can show the jury afterwards. So tell us what kind of rifle that is. This is an SKS rifle, and this is the one that we saw in the photo of the bus. Yes, it is. Okay, if you can pull it out of that box to show the jury, please. And the clips that you showed us in the box, marked 558 or magazines as you call them, would those fit the rifle there? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. And finally, just for the record, I believe you have 556 in front of you in hard copy. Yes, sir. And if you could just pull that out and ensure it's an APM on-call list, and we had on the screen a few moments ago. Yes, sir, it is. All right, thank you, Scrocky. Those are all the questions I have for Investigator Ching. Traversal, no questions. No questions, Your Honor, from Mr. Dooley. Investigator Ching, good to see you again. Every item you have shown us is perfectly legal if a person is not a felon, correct? I believe so, yes. And you found no drugs, anything illegal drugs, correct? Correct. Thank you. Mr. Dooley, I'm done. By Ms. Hayden. Investigator Ching, if I could direct your attention to 556, the list you read from. You don't know who wrote that document, do you? No, ma'am. And you don't know when that document was created? No, ma'am. And you don't know how it got in that bus, do you? No, ma'am. That's all I have. No redirect. All right, thank you. Thank you. You may be accused of Investigator Ching. Thank you, Your Honor. The government calls Alaska State Trooper Dave Wilson. Sergeant Dave Wilson. Okay, you'll stand in the jury and witness box, raise your right hand and be sworn. Yes, I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Direct examination. Miss Lamro, good afternoon. Good afternoon. For what purpose could you please spell your for the record, could you please spell your full name and spell your last name for the record? David Allen Wilson. DAVIDALLANWILLSON. Mr. Wilson, where do you work? The Alaska State Troopers, the Alaska Bureau of Investigation in the Technical Crimes Unit here in Anchorage. And what's your current title? I'm the supervisor for the unit. I'm sergeant with the State Troopers. How long have you been with the Alaska State Troopers? A little over 10 years. About how long have you lived in Alaska? About 30 years. You indicated that you were the supervisor of the Technical Crimes Unit. Yeah, we have a Technical Crimes Unit here in Anchorage. And what we do is we process digital evidence for lots of different types of law enforcement cases around the state. I have a number of investigators and criminal justice techs that operate in our lab, and I supervise them. And specifically, what kinds of evidence are you referring to? Cell phones, computers, storage devices, and associated computers, that sort of thing. Prior to being supervisor of the Technical Crimes Unit, what did you do? I was in Fairbanks from 2006 until August of last year until 2011. I had 2 jobs up there. The first was the supervisor of the Major Crimes Unit in Fairbanks for the Alaska State Troopers. And the second job was supervisor of the Child Abuse Investigative Unit for the Alaska State Troopers. And how long have you been a computer forensics examiner? Since the fall of 2008, I began in November 2008. I started taking classes, specifically computer forensic examination. I have taken computer classes associated with general computer use before that. But that's when I began my curriculum in actual forensic examination. And does the Technical Crimes Unit also do cell phone examinations? Yes, we do. In general, briefly, can you describe the cell phone and computer forensic examinators do? Yes, we generally identify digital evidence, preserve that digital evidence, then extract the evidence from the device, and then document the evidence we found for presentation in court. Can you briefly describe your experience with the cell phone and computer forensic examinations? Yes, I have quite a bit of experience since 2008. It started with classes. I went through a series of training classes. First, through Access Data Corporation, which is a company that makes the most of our tools, software tools that we use. And I took a Windows XP forensics class. I took a Windows registry class, a Mac forensics class, an Internet forensics class. I took classes for mobile forensics incorporated on cell phone examinations, then a little forensics 101 and 102 classes. I had classes in Chicago on iPhone forensics, specifically especially from Jonathan Zidoreski. I had classes from Mississippi State University, 2 classes that they provided, 101 and 201, on computer forensics, and I'm currently certified with the use of some tools by Access Data. Woo! I'm a smart mofo. Approximately how many computer forensics examinations have you completed, if you can approximate? Probably in the range to 400 to 600, less than 1,000, but many hundreds of examinations have I done because I'm so smart. And you said you supervise others? Yes. In addition to that, I supervise every examination that's performed on our shop. I sign off on all the reports. And approximately how many cell phone examinations have you completed? Just cell phones, I was doing in Fairbanks more than 60 or 70 a year. So several hundred cell phones, at least 200 to 300 cell phones. And again, are you supervising others in your unit who are doing cell phone examinations? Yes, I am. In that course of time, have you had occasion to testify about your examinations in other courts? Yes, I have, in state court. What types of crimes have your forensic examinations involved? Well, pretty much every crime that we investigated in the Alaska State Trooper and other agencies that we've examined touches a digital device of some sort. So we've had homicide cases, robbery cases, child abuse cases, domestic violence cases, sexual assault cases. We've had alcohol importation cases. We've had hindering prosecution cases, evidence tampering cases. Just about every kind of case that we've investigate usually has some sort of digital element to it that requires a forensic examination. Can you explain the process for examining cell phones? Certainly. Cell phone examination, one of the first things that we do, the procedure is to prevent, and I mentioned this earlier, we want to preserve the evidence. We need to prevent the evidence from being changed in any way. And one of the things that can happen with a cell phone is once you've seized a cell phone, it can still be communicating with people in other cell phones and other computers. It can receive text messages and it can send text messages. So one of the first things we do is to interrupt that communication, and we take it off the network in some way. Maybe it's as easy as putting it in airplane mode, which sometimes a lot of people are familiar with, or maybe remove a SIM card, or we'll put it into a box to interrupt the signal. Once we've preserved the evidence by interrupting that network connection, we'll then extract the evidence using some tool that we have. And we have many different types of software tools, and we'll hook it up in the device or that computer with the software, and we'll extract that information from the cell phone. And then we'll either use that tool or another's tool and present that information in some document format. Maybe it's just a report, and you can use it in an internet browser to see where everything is. Sometimes we'll use a spreadsheet or even something as simple as a Microsoft Word to present that information. And then we preserve that documentation later for presentation in court. Early on, you made a reference to preserving the information. And so sometimes you might remove a SIM card. Yeah. Can you explain what a SIM card is? Oh yeah, because I'm Mr. Smarty Pants. A SIM card is used by some cell phones to connect to the network, and it's kind of nice because you can remove SIM cards and put them in another phone, and then that other phone has that phone number. And so we find that sometimes SIM cards will move, but that SIM card is the essence of the connection to the network. AT&T, GCI, a lot of providers around Alaska here use SIM cards in their phones, but some providers don't, like Verizon Wireless doesn't use SIM cards in their phone. So it's different types of technology. Some have a SIM card, some don't. And when we do have a SIM card, removing that SIM card is a quick, easy way of taking it off the network. You said that the SIM card can be used to have the same phone number. What information is stored on the SIM card? It depends on the phone, but sometimes SIM cards will have text messages. Every time the SIM card will have the information. Every time the SIM card will have the information necessary to connect to the network, and also will have maybe often actual telephone number for the recipient that has a subscriber account there. Sometimes there will be photos depending on the type of SIM card, but that all kinds of depends on what the phone or the SIM card is in and what that phone is doing with that information. You explain that you use certain types of process the data, certain tools to process the data or extract the data from a cell phone. Can you explain some of those tools the technical crime unit uses? Yes, the major tool we use is called Celebrite UFED, and I use that term. We call it UFED. What UFED means is Universal Forensic Extraction Device, and it's a standalone unit that sits on a desktop and connects to cell phones and other mobile devices. Then another tool we use is, before we move on, the Celebrite. Yes, that's an actual piece of hardware that the phone connects to, is that right? It is. Okay, and It sits right here on the desk and plugs into the wall, or it can even plug into a car outlet, and so it could be used in a mobile fashion. Very portable and easy to use with several buttons on the top. And do the Alaska State Troopers have these at their facilities? Yes, we have quite a few of those around. Those very simple to use. I can teach you how to use it in 15 minutes. It does a lot of what we need to do right away without a lot of training required to operate it. And we have those spread out all over the state. What are some of the more in-depth ways that you can extract data or process data from a cell phone? We have an upgraded version of the Celebrite UFED called the UFED Physical Pro. And that device connects to a computer and takes the information from a UFED and puts it into a computer for extensive analysis, more than just the Celebrite UFED could do. And then we have another device. It's a computer with software. We call it, is this like the most robust tool now? You're about to get comprehensive. Yeah, okay. The most comprehensive examination possible on a cell phone is when you take the data from the cell phone and you put it in a computer that's running a forensic software package like Forensic Toolkit. And that's kind of the most powerful tool that we have in our lab is Forensic Toolkit for comprehensive analysis of every bit of data that we seize from any device, including cell phones. And do you refer to that as the FTK? We do. FTK is a forensic toolkit. Now, what if CDs, DVDs are seized by law enforcement? How does the Technical Crimes Unit analyze or do examination of those items? Well, very similarly in concept, we want to preserve the evidence first of all. So when a CD is seized, we want to examine it without altering any data on the device. Fortunately, CDs are very difficult to alter, and just putting a CD in a computer doesn't generally alter the data that's on there. But we could take the CD and we wouldn't attach it to a Celebrite UFED or any of those devices. We'd bring it right into the lab and put it on a computer and then put it into the computer for viewing. If it's very complicated CD with lots of files on it, we might bring it into the Forensic Toolkit or F2K. If it's a very simple one, we might just copy it and then look at the copy and see the files that were on those disks. And then open them up from the copy to see what those files contained. Question. Turning now to computers. Are computers examined the same way that cell phones and CDs and DVDs? No, they're not. A computer generally, with today's technology, has a hard drive in it. And the hard drive contains that data that would be in a cell phone or another device. And what we do is we take the computer, we don't turn it on, we open up the case and we remove the hard drive from the computer, and then we attach it to an examination computer in the lab that has, I'm sorry to interrupt, you don't have to turn it on for that reason? Because when you turn on the computer with the hard drive in it, it can alter the data on the hard drive very easily. At the very least, it says that the computer was last turned on and changes some things inside the computer. And so to prevent that, so that we can preserve all the evidence in the same way that it was seized, we attach it to a forensic examination computer that has on it something called a write blocker. And what that means is it prevents the computer that we use in the lab from writing any data to the hard drive, which is why it's called a write blocker. Sometimes we even have software write blockers involved, and that allows us to copy the data off the drive onto the forensic examination computer. And then once that's done, we verify it. We make sure that every part of the information on that hard drive is verified with our copy using something called a hash algorithm. Fancy terms for basically checking to make sure all of the information is there and accurate. We use two types of hash algorithms, and once both of those are verified, only then would we begin to actually examine the data was on that hard drive. Question. And so the hash algorithm value is way that you determine your copy is the exact same as the hard drive? Absolutely. And if it's not, we'll do it again and again to make sure that we got the data perfect and unaltered, an exact copy before we would even begin an examination. And then we put the hard drive back in the computer and we put the computer back in the evidence and we don't touch it again. We then do our examination and process that data off of the copy. So the original is preserved if it ever needs to be copied again and re-examined, thereby the whole time not altering any data that's on the computer hard drive. And then once you have your mirror copy, how do you process that data in there? How do you conduct the exam? It's almost every case except for a few exceptions, which for very cursory examinations, we take the data, bring it into the forensic toolkit, and do a comprehensive analysis of every one of those items on that drive, which can be significant. Some of these drives have 1 or 2 million different files on them. Did the Alaska State Troopers perform forensic examinations in this investigation? Yes, we did. And did you yourself conduct examinations in this investigation? Yes, I did. Can you tell the jury when you first became involved in this investigation? Yes. February 16th of 2011, I met with two investigators in Fairbanks, Investigator Bell and Investigator Thompson, and I began an investigation of white Apple iPhone that was given to me with a search warrant. And what did you do with that iPhone? I connected it to the Celebrite UFED, which is one of the tools I mentioned earlier about cell phones, and I did something with it on the... Let me back up. What did you do first to preserve the evidence? Initially, the first thing I did was remove the SIM card, as I always do when I'm examining a phone that has a SIM card in it. And after I removed the SIM card so that it was not on the network, I connected it to the Celebrite UFED. Then I did what's called a logical file dump, which means that I grabbed every bit of information in the file system, all the folders and all the files that were inside the iPhone, because the iPhone is really more like a computer than a cell phone in many ways. But the UFED does a really good job of pulling all that logical file systems off. And you said you pulled every bit. Is that actually a technical term? Well, actually, I didn't mean it in that term. Oh, okay. But yes, a bit is a technical term. I meant to say that I grabbed all that stuff that was on there. I grabbed every file and folder, and I did this logical file dump on the examination computer that I had in my lab in Fairbanks. And then I took the logical file system, all of the folders and the files from that iPhone, and I imported it into the FTK, the Forensic Toolkit, for extensive examination. And then I returned the phone to the Investigator Thompson and Investigator Bell. And how long did you have possession of that phone? Approximately how long did you have it? It was overnight. It took a long time to pull all that data off that phone, so it was returned to them on the 17th. I want to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as Government Exhibit 2, SAR 794, and before you go into too much detail, I'd like you to just review it and let me know if you recognize that exhibit. I do recognize it, and you can generally describe what that item is. Yeah. This is a page subsequent to printouts of the contents of a portion of the iPhone from February 16, 2011. Miss Lamro, the government would offer Government Exhibit 794. Any objection to this document? No objection, no objection, no objection. Mr. Traverso, do you have an objection? No, I said no objection. Oh, I didn't hear. 794 may be admitted. If we could have the lights, please, Madam Clerk. By Miss Lamro. What are we looking at here in Government Exhibit 794? Answer. This is the contents of the phone's notes application. Every iPhone has notes program. It has a little yellow icon often on the first page of the iPhone where the user can type in notes and various different items, and it keeps track of the last date that the note was modified in the front of the screen. And this actually 5 different screens that I took of the application and all the notes in it. Really, if you had the phone in front of you, you'd just scroll up and you'd see one long list, but I couldn't put that one on the list of paper, so that's why there's 5. So this indicates it says notes parenthesis 35. What does 35 mean? That means there's 35 actual note files in this application. Okay. And this is from the iPhone in February of 2011, is that right? It is. Now you indicated that you used FTK. Yes, I did. Is this an FTK report? No, it's not. Okay, can you explain to me what we're looking at here? Yes, FTK. When it extracts the data from the iPhone, it kind of computer speak, very difficult to read, very hard to understand what's there. There's lots of different weird characters in there and that you and I can't understand because it's meant to talk to a computer. It's data that's meant for the notes application to present this in this way. So this is the way we're used to seeing it, and this is the way the computer would see it. The way I got it to look like this is this. I took another iPhone 3GS almost identical to this one, and it was black instead of white to this one that I examined in 16, and I reset the factory settings, and then I placed the data. When you say you reset the factory settings, what does that mean? Erased everything on it. You erased everything, so it was, yeah, a blank phone. Yeah, a blank iPhone. It had the notes application, but there was nothing in there. It was totally empty. And then I took the data from the phone that we had seized, and then I had extracted, and I placed it onto a blank iPhone so that it could display it in a way it was meant to be seen instead of all the weird characters that you see in the FTK. And then I took screenshots from that in the phone and printed those out. I also took the contents of all the notes because these are just headers. They're very first part of the note. Deeper, and there's later pages. There's the contents of each note page, and all I imported into the Microsoft Word for viewing. And you're calling this little title like a header. Is that how you're referring to the? Yeah, that's okay. That's topics. That's what I'm saying. The notes. Yes, okay. And that's what's indicated on the left-hand side of the column. Correct. What's on the right-hand side of the column? The right-hand side of the column is the latest modified date. That's the date that note was adjusted. It could have been simply adding a space, or it could be adding a whole big section or deleting something in that note. And I actually duplicated the results of that another iPhone. On the iPhone, I changed something and it affected the modified data right away. So I confirm that that's the modified date through the trial and practice on the iPhone software. Now, when you examined this iPhone, did you learn what the phone number was in that iPhone? I did. Can you tell us what that phone number is? Yeah, it was 907-590-9903. And when you looked at the iPhone, did it tell you, did it have a name or something like that? Yeah, it did. The iPhone name, it's originally connected to the iTunes, and the username, its iPhone name was Schaefer's iPhone. Miss Lamro, I'd like to turn to page 7, please, now. Okay. Now, you like me to refer to the screen here on the contents of this? The screen is fine. Okay. The top line there where it says exported notes, do you see that? I do. Is this something that you put into this? Yes, okay. I put that, and I also put a little members on the left. Microsoft Word allows you to do that automatically for ease of view. And these numbers, these 400 numbers, were not in the actual contents of the phone. If you turn that to the line as number 476, are you able to read that line there? I can. It says, memo to all defenders, 11-18-10. Miss Lamron, if you could go ahead and enlarge this section, please. Could you please read what it says under memo to all defenders? Yeah, starting at page 470, team leaders will make weekly contact with their team and conduct a monthly team get-together or training report. Unit leaders will make weekly contact with TLs and oversee monthly training events for the team and their unit. And if your TL is unable to contact you or you have more than 3 unexcused absences, your TL will recommend that you be moved to inactive status. Team leaders will give a monthly report to their unit leader before the end of each month containing a description of your monthly activity. Miss Lamro, let's turn to the next page, please. And if you could continue reading the rest of the note there, please. And all excused absences, recommendations for inactiveness. Every Friday night, 7 p.m. at Colonel Cox's home is the relaxed food and fellowship time geared towards first-time interested friends. Be of good cheer. We are fortunate to live in times that demand men of great character. Colonel Cox, 590-9903, pass. This is so I'll get it. Miss Lamro, if we can scroll back out to see the full page, what's the title of the next note here, line 501? It says Prospective Sons of Gad. And what below that note? Below that, there appears to be what looks like a key with abbreviations and symbols for different messages, starting with left message, can and will do, need to think about it, check, date, bad, time, no equals, not into it. So if we go to line 521, what's the name there? That says J.R. Olson and has a phone number, and there's no number, there's no symbol next to the name. Is that right? Correct, no symbol. What if we go to line 430? What do you see there? 430 does have a symbol, and it says M. Mike Anderson, a phone number, and an email address. Can you tell what that symbol relates to in regard to the key? Yes. Up above, in referring to the key, it says that Mr. Anderson is, can, and will do. If we ever go to the next phone column at 555, yes, what do you see there? I see the symbol for bad time, and it refers to Rob Carr, and it has a phone number and an email address. And if we go down to the bottom right-hand corner, line 75, yes, that has the symbol for can and will do, and it says Colin Barney, and it has a phone number and an email address. Miss Lamro, if we could go to the next page, please. The list continues here. Line 584, what does that say? It says can and will do, symbol, and Lieutenant Thin Thessing with an email address. It says LT, right? Yeah, but I work for a lieutenant, and that's what he uses for his name, LT. That's what I recognized it to be. If we go to the right-hand side of the page, now there's some number of symbols. That's the line below and line on 622. Could you enlarge that on the right-hand side, please? And what is that line? 622. It says ideas to do. Ideas to do. Okay, and what is that line 620? It says APM pins. Why don't you go ahead and just read the IDERS to do, please? Okay. AFM pins, Golden Days, Paintball, Spaghetti Feed, Postcards, War Protest, Trooper Protest, Equinox Station, Midnight Sunfair, Radio Ads, Calvary, VHF Radios, Hydrogen Power, Weapons Choices, Badges, Official Commissioning, Hit List, Militia Tax Bills, Districts, Budget, Trucks, Music Team, Pirate Radio, Microwave Bumpers, Gun Show Table, Art 1, Section 10 Stamp, APM Tow Truck, Crowd Control. Okay, if we could go back to the page, please. Can you tell, is that its own note? No, actually it's not. It's the actual software. This was all one continuous note, but it's separated by these sign lines. And so which note was it part of? Do you want to go, this was part. Back to the last page. Yeah, is this the part of the Prospective Sons of Gad note? Okay, Miss Lamro, so if we can, beginning in page 509, go back to 1, please. Can you tell what the last modified date was for this note? Up in the upper right-hand corner, you see the header Prospective Sons of number 17, 2010 for the last modified date. So the ideas to do, that list was last modified November 17, 2010. The entire note, I don't know what part of that note was modified at the date. Let's go back to the page 9, please. Now below the ideas to do, there's another line of number symbols. Yes, that's right, yes. What do you see on line 65 to the bottom? From 655 down, I see A.L., Dav Lesby, then A2, Joe Nichols, A3, Colin Barney, paid for the shirt, then A5, Paul Howe, number, and Joshua Clark. Let's go to the next page, and at the top left-hand corner, what are the numbers that you see there? I see Ken Thessing, Philip Clark, Lonnie Vernon, phone number Gary Brock, and if we scroll it down a little way, please, then what is this section? This says Unit 1 patches, and it has a number of individuals there. It starts with 1 Schaefer Cox and letters Com, Les Zerby, then Com, Ken Thessing Com, Coleman Barney Com, Gary Brockman, Lonnie Vernon, Bill Rinsel, Joe Nichols, Craig Anderson. Let me stop you there, I'll ask. Okay, line 6683, Jerry Olson, Esther. If we could have you scroll out, please, and below the line 693, what do you see there? I see the little responsibilities and then some content underneath. It talks about team leaders and unit leaders. Yes, then the memo. And then the continues on the top to the next page. Yes, memo to all defenders. Ms. Lamro, if we go to the next page, please, what is line 821? It says per ranger budget, and then it starts with the names. In the bottom right-hand corner there, yes, per ranger budget, and then there's a couple of names below that. 1 Coleman, 2 Ken, Ms. Lamro. And then if we could go to the next page, 3 Ben, 4 Lonnie, 5 Les, 6 me. And then there's some pant sizes there. Yes, and some items for the dollar amount below. Badges, duty belts, radios, armor, shirts, and pants, Glock. And there's something for a fedora and tie down at 845 and 846. And then there's a line 848 says what? 848 says I responsibility cards pass out. And are you able to read line 860? Yeah, it says DA Stalkin Baker. Lamro, what if we go to page 17, please? If we could look at 1260 in bottom left, it says James Havens and has an address below that. And where is this address? It says 291 Peyton, Laverne, California with a zip code. Can we go to page 19, please? What is the title of the note on that page? It says 1396 press conference. Okay, Ms. Lamro, if we could enlarge the right-hand side. And have you read from the line 1434 on the right side? Sorry, line 1434 down to the bottom, please. They brought in a team of FBI and U.S. Marshals a few months ago just for this. This was brought out to the attention and confirmed by numerous independent sources from state and local officials to military and law enforcement pastors, tradesmen, and Fairbanks citizens from all walks of life. It always starts with a character assassination. You have to kill the name before you kill the man. And now you are going after our baby boy. The supervising agent said, when we try to take the child, we believe that we will be sufficient to elicit a show of force, at which point we can shoot all 3 of them. When we heard this, we were shocked and horrified. All 3, my wife, Marty, and I felt like we had been kicked in the chest by a moose. I'm just a young husband and father who reads what Thomas Jefferson, John Locke, and George Washington wrote and puts it into practice in my life, and now I'm on the terrorist list, and my whole family are about to be off by the federal agents without even a trial. Think. Okay, let me go ahead and stop you there, and we'll go to the next page. The court. It's straight up 5 o'clock, counsel. We'll deal with that tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to follow my instructions about recesses. Don't discuss the case with each other or anyone else. Don't read or view or listen to any news accounts that can be published. Don't look up anything on your own. Don't use computers, that's cell phones, iPhones, anything having to do with the case. Don't communicate with others about the case through any means. And come back tomorrow at 8:30 and we'll be ready to go. You may be, I wanted you to remind you, I guess tomorrow is the day we're going to be quit early. Yes, Your Honor, about 3:30. We'll probably have a short lunch hour, so take a little time. Okay, you may be excused. Leave your materials. The court be seated. Please, I don't know what, I missed something here, I guess. I think I'm listening to try to pay attention. Did somebody type all this into some iPhone that has the name Schaefer Cox's iPhone? Is that what I get out of this? I mean, do you type into them like I don't use those things, you know? Do you type into them like on a computer? Miss Lamro, yes, Your Honor. And perhaps I'll go into that with Mr. Sergeant Wilson tomorrow to explain how iPhones are used, and you can type your own notes in there and save them, whether they be grocery list or the notes that you saw up on the screen today. Okay, well, that part I missed. Maybe some others on the jury missed it too. You can step down, Mr. Wilson, Sergeant Wilson. You indicated you're behind time-wise. Tell me about that. Miss Lamro, it's always to predict these things, Your Honor. Some things go faster than we expect them, and some things go slower than we expect. At this point, I don't think the estimate is that we're about. I think our estimate is that we're about a day behind what we had planned. But we are finished now with the searches, separate from the forensic examination. So in terms of having to take the time of reviewing physical items and bringing them up to the witness, hopefully the witnesses will go faster going forward. But if we did perhaps shorten the length of the lunch hour, that would help us keep moving forward. The court, a day behind in 5 days is a week at the end of trial, you know. I don't want to tell you how to try your case. Mr. Ashton come on and told us that he did have a study, and none of us, these fellows, ever registered a gun or applied to register a gun. That's all. It shouldn't have taken that long. I mean, a little detail, a little fill-in is fine, but you we're drowning in detail. And the same thing is true with Mr. Wilson, Sergeant Wilson's testimony. He spent a whole lot of time telling us all the details about how he goes about his work, and some may find it interesting, others do not. But the bottom line is they can get into these computers and iPhones and cell phones and get all the information out, and it works. And we really don't need to spend, most of half an hour on the details of that. Yeah, he only brings that up after he spent a whole freaking day biasing the jury. It's like, why didn't you bring that up before it was done? It's like the cow's already been let out of the barn. Now, I'm not cutting you off. I'm not telling you a way to speed up. The other thing I noticed is that we have a lot of documentary exhibits and evidence that speak for themselves, and it takes a long time for somebody to read it. It's helpful to the jury to read them as they come in, but it also takes a lot of time, all that stuff. Once it's in evidence, it's in evidence. So my suggestion only is to get to the bottom line sooner with each witness. Scrocky, briefly, Judge, part of the process is that we've tried for months to figure out issues with chain of custody. We've gotten nowhere with that. We could have cut a lot of witnesses out and moved this along and had the information. So because I know, Scrocky, we don't know where this is coming from down the line. We feel that we've put that on. We certainly hear you with the rest of these Scrocky comments. Well, I understand that, and it's nice if a criminal defense for the trial process, if criminal defendants give up their rights to confront witnesses and make stipulations and a lot of things, but due processes of law does not require that. So, we understand, but just so you know, that's factoring into our presentation. Well, of course it does. I understand that. Thank you. All right, now tomorrow is 3:30. We'll shorten that lunch hour. I don't know how much we can reasonably shorten it, but we'll no more than an hour. Certainly for lunch tomorrow, we'll stop at 3:30, okay? The clerk, all rise. This matter is in recess until tomorrow at 8:30. The court is adjourned, subject to call. Proceedings concluded at 5:07 p.m. Oh my goodness. This is what they do every time. It's called a parade of terribles.